Games rated RP to T. Welcome to Nintendo Power Podcast. This episode, we preview a year of big games coming to Nintendo Switch. My name is Chris, and this episode I'm joined by two returning guests and good friends of mine on the communications team at Nintendo of America. Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
How's it going, Chris?
And Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello. It's great to be back.
It's great to have you back. Thank you both for coming back on the show. And, this is our first episode of 2022. And to kick things off, we're going to take a look at a lot of the big games coming to Nintendo Switch this year. And we waited a little bit longer than usual to do this episode because a little bird told me there might be some cool announcements coming. And that bird was right on the money. We just saw a bunch of game announcements in the Nintendo Direct. And if you ask me, 2022 is looking like it could be one of the best years for Nintendo Switch so far. So there are way more games actually coming this year than we could ever fit into a single episode. But we're going to skip all the usual episode segments and limit this discussion to just games that were in the Nintendo Direct so we can hopefully touch on as many of them as we can. So are you guys ready to get going?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Awesome, great. All right, so starting on February 9th, actually going back just a little bit, to Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings. Now, technically, these are releasing the day before we're going to post this episode, so they'll be in the past and won't necessarily be upcoming games anymore, but I couldn't just skip over them. I'm so excited to play these classic, quirky, endearing RPGs on Nintendo Switch, and anybody who has any kind of Nintendo Switch Online membership can re-experience them or try them out for the first time and see what all the fuss is about. And also, while I'm looking backwards just a little bit, I just want to remind everyone that Pokemon Legends Arceus kicked this year off in a big way just at the end of last month. And that game's getting a lot of really good attention, so it's definitely one to check out for sure if you haven't already. All right, now we can finally start looking ahead, and on March 4th, we have Triangle Strategy. Jason, what do you think about this game?
So I'm working really closely on this title, and I am a big fan of Square Enix's approach to tactics games. So this one looks very much in line with some of the old fan favorites, as well as for folks who may have played Octopath Traveler a few years ago on the Nintendo Switch. This one looks really solid. I really love the mechanics of scales of conviction. It's kind of a way to incorporate your entire team as well as their decisions on what you should do next, whether it's in battle or where to move throughout the land of Norzelia next. So it's definitely one on my radar, and I'm very excited to see it get another demo. That's super exciting. And not only that, but a demo that allows you to carry your progression into the full game if you pick that up on the eShop or at launch. So I'm a big fan of that just as an item that exists for that game. So I'm definitely going to be picking that up and getting a head start on the game.
Definitely. That demo goes through the end of Chapter 3, so it looks like there's a good amount there to kind of test the waters with. Anthony, we've got a lot of these, as we'll see as we go through the games. A lot of games are now kind of adopting that HD 2D look, which I personally love. So what do you think of this one, Triangle Strategy?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that because Jason mentioned Octopath Traveler, and I love that similar art style, and just a game you could really immerse yourself in. And so if you just want to really get lost in that universe for hours upon hours, then you can totally do that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then I know just the fact that there is a demo where you can carry your save progress over, that's an amazing thing. So I'm definitely going to try that out. But yeah, definitely excited just because I love that art style.
Yeah, for sure. And the demo for Octopath Traveler is what really got me interested in that game. So, I think this is a great idea, especially, when you're talking about RPGs, which sometimes they cross over and become huge, kind of broadly appealing games, and sometimes it's more of the core RPG fans that really pay attention. But you see something that looks like it has a lot of potential, and I'm glad that a lot more people are going to get a chance to try it out. All right, so moving on to March 18th, we are going to have Wave 1 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. I am the biggest, well, I guess I should say, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of listeners would claim to be the biggest fan of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It is one of my all-time favorite games, easily in my top 5, definitely my favorite racing game. So when I heard about this, I couldn't have been more excited. Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, so I it definitely is in like my like top tier of games, and I did think of you too, Chris, because I know you are a huge fan, and definitely the office champion as far as Mario Kart goes. So this is definitely gonna get a few of us ready to challenge you for the title, and maybe practice on some of these remastered courses. So yeah, I'm super excited for this.
I know I'm feeling the heat. I feel like I got to get in there right away and really get to grips with these courses so that I don't lose my spot here in
Yeah,
the office.
we're gunning for the title.
Jason, do I have to worry about a threat from you? Are you going to be gunning for the title as well?
I don't think we've had the pleasure of enjoying some kart battles and races. So it's to be seen. We will see. But I'm super excited for the booster course pass. I think I have a lot of favorite levels from throughout the Mario Kart franchise. I was a huge DS fan. I loved the Wii version. I loved Mario Kart 7 on 3DS. So I think there's a lot of great potential for what's coming down the line. And I mean, 48 courses, that's so much, especially coming over, basically a 2-year period. There will be no shortage of, you know, different cups that you can make and things like that. So I'm super excited. It's been a while since I've played on my Nintendo Switch and really opened up in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but it's perfect time to get back into it.
That's right. This is a game that I come back to pretty regularly, but I'm currently on. I think for the past couple of months at least, have been sleeping on a little bit. So definitely going to get back in there, play some online courses, get brushed up on my skills a bit to prepare. And like you guys said, I mean, 6 waves of 8 courses each. Released up through. Or at least I think that the wording was they're supposed to all be out by the end of 2023. So I just cannot wait to get in there. That's basically no, it literally is doubling the number of courses in the game, and um, and of course, like you guys mentioned, I was a big fan of all those past versions too. And you look at some of the courses that we've seen already: Coconut Mall from the Wii version, Choco Mountain from Nintendo 64, and then Tokyo Blur from Mario Kart Tour, which is the mobile game. And I'm especially interested in this track because it's never been played with traditional console Mario Kart controls before. Of course, Mario Kart Tour has its own kind of unique style of play. So I'm very excited for that. And I can't wait to get in there. Of course, playing these online, but then I really enjoy in single player even going in and trying to get a 3-star, gold cup on each of these courses. So definitely going to be doing that. And then the best news is, of course, anybody can buy the season pass for all of these courses for $24.99. Or if you already have a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership, you can access them without paying anything extra. So that's a lot of people that right there from day one are going to be able to play these courses. So super, super looking forward to that. And then just a little bit later in March, on March 25th, one of my other games that I'm most looking forward to, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Jason, have you always been a big Kirby fan? And what do you think of this one?
Yeah, fun fact about me personally, Kirby's Adventure is actually the first NES game I ever beat on my own. So I've got deep roots with Kirby. I'm super excited for this one. It's it 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 looks incredible in a way that Kirby is really stepping into its own and getting some really great level design vibes. I love the aesthetic of kind of this very bright, almost post-human world with some just really interesting level design for a Kirby title. You think of woods and forests and things like that with Kirby, but this you're in a dilapidated mall. You're in like waterworks and different things like that. It's a really different take, and I'm really looking forward to playing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited for Kirby. I've always been a Kirby fan, and it wasn't the first game I ever beat, but definitely one of my favorite games. And um, yeah, just like I mean, one, just like Jason was kind of mentioning, some of the different like environments and worlds that you're in this game, they just really look amazing, unlike probably anything you've seen in a Kirby game. And there's the new mouthful mode, which is like really
Hmm.
cool because instead of just having like a copy ability that Kirby usually gets, you actually become the item. So that
It
is
looks so funny when you see Kirby stretched out over a vending machine or a car or something.
yeah, or like a street cone or something. And it's
Hmm.
just wild. And I think that's like what I love about the series so much is that it's just so wacky and wild, but like Kirby is just the hero that we all need. So, and
Hmm.
especially a lot of my fandom too comes from Super Smash Bros. And playing Kirby there all the time too. But yeah, big affinity for Kirby on my end.
Yeah, definitely. And I wish I had the same old school credentials with Kirby that you do, Jason. But I actually didn't start getting into the character and the games until probably the Nintendo DS. I remember there were some more experimental kind of touchscreen focused games that
Yeah.
involved Kirby,
Hmm.
and those were great. And from there, I kind of started playing, on Wii and the Nintendo Switch and all the other systems, going back and kind of playing some of those platformers. And they're just always really charming and a lot of fun and just adorably cute. But something that I'm really liking about what I'm seeing from this game is because of the nature of where you're now exploring a 3D space. Similar to when other franchises first jumped to 3D, I'm getting that sense that, for example, in the Nintendo Direct, we saw he was using some of those mouthful mode kind of abilities, such as when he swallows the traffic cone and he pierces the pipe, which creates the burst of water that raises him up to a higher area that maybe you didn't even might not have even noticed before. So all of that kind of exploring these areas, finding little secret spots and using all these new abilities is totally in my wheelhouse. That's my favorite kind of game. So I absolutely cannot wait for this. And I also like the whole, as we saw in the Nintendo Direct, that whole Waddle Dee town that kind of
Hmm.
grows the more as you
Yeah.
rescue more Waddle Dees throughout the levels or the areas. And I love that it then you can go into, for example, the Waddle Dee weapons shop, and you can actually upgrade your copy abilities so that when you go back out into the game and play those levels, you're even more powerful. Or you've even got slightly different abilities. That's the kind of thing, kind of leveling up, growing your what you can do in the game is also something that I really enjoy. So much there that I'm excited for, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think yeah, you mentioned too the evolving copy abilities, which is really cool because it's like usually Kirby's already pretty powerful, right? With like a copy ability like sword, the sword copy ability, for example. But then he just gets a giant sword, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
which just like yeah, it just looks insane, and Kirby could not be more powerful now.
I know he's just got that giant sword resting over his like puffball shoulder, kind of.
Yeah, it really looks amazing.
Yeah, and his dragon form as well was a show stealer for me in the presentation. I think I'll definitely be gearing up. I mean, obviously, always a fan of Kirby, just mimicking Mario and blowing fire, but being able to kind of glide through the air with like fiery dragon wings, get out of here.
I know. Especially when those abilities really let you explore these worlds in new ways. So much more there, I think, to discover, and can't wait to talk about the game a lot more in future episodes. All right, so moving on to April 7th, we've got Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition from Square Enix. Of course, this is a remaster of a classic RPG. Were either of you familiar with the original Chrono Cross?
I mean, I lightly familiar. It was not a series that I ever sort of like, played through and through and you really dove in. But yeah, I mean, I vague memories of it and just always sort of like hearing from lots of friends who are big fans, just like how amazing it is. And yeah, this is like I always love these opportunities to go back and play some of these games that maybe I'm not as familiar with. So this is definitely one of those.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I have very little experience with a lot of earlier JRPGs, and so Chrono Cross is no exception here. Definitely looking forward to exploring kind of with the updated visuals and whatnot. But I it's set in the same world as Chrono Trigger. I've played Chrono Trigger a decent amount, so no, I've never finished a playthrough of that game. So maybe it's time. Like Anthony had mentioned before, it's a great time to go back and revisit some of these titles when they're new and shiny.
Yeah, I sometimes forget that not every gamer is as let's say as much of a gaming veteran as I am, to put it gently, with my age. Uh, and that's what's so great about a lot of these games, that were announced during the Nintendo Direct, is we're bringing back and kind of reimagining or remastering a lot of classic titles that for people like me, we either missed them the first time around or we got to enjoy them, but we're going to get to enjoy them in a new way now, and that's great. I love my nostalgic gaming. But then also for so many more people, it's going to be an opportunity to experience a game for the first time that otherwise might have kind of been lost to time. So, I personally have a lot more experience with Chrono Trigger, which is, a true Super NES classic, but not nearly as much with Chrono Cross. So this is definitely going to be an opportunity for me to kind of see what all the fuss was about and kind of enjoy that game that I missed the first time around. Now, in this game, you get to, as we saw in the Nintendo Direct, you get to travel between two worlds, and you're going to unravel the mystery of what happened to the main character. And depending on the choices you make, there's different characters can join you, and there's different endings. I think there's over 40 characters that can join you, so that's pretty interesting. And then for the remaster specifically, you've got the ability to turn off enemy encounters, and also the soundtrack has been enhanced. So, even people who were thoroughly familiar with the game back in the day still have some new stuff to look forward to. And then it also includes Radical Dreamers, which I'd never heard of actually, but I guess was originally released on the Satellaview of all things, which was I think was a Japanese only attachment for the Super NES, which is a text-based adventure that kind of delves into the origins of Chrono Cross. So for I think both old fans and kind of newcomers to the series, there is a lot here to sink your teeth into. And then moving on just a little bit to April 8th, that very next day, we finally are going to get Advance Wars 1 plus 2 Reboot Camp, which I'm a huge Advance Wars fan. I've really been looking forward to this one. Jason, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of gobsmacked that this existed when it was first announced, and the reboot camp version is looking fantastic. I love that the characters are voiced now. The animations look super snappy and stylish. It's a treatment that series and both of those games really deserve. So I'm very, very excited for that title. Both of those titles, I guess, because you get them both. And I would say that's probably my biggest go-to when it comes to flipping back on a Game Boy of some kind. Is I always have Advance Wars 1 ready to go. So, can't come soon enough.
Yeah, similar to Fire Emblems, the Fire Emblem series and other games of that type, it is just a great kind of pick up and play game, at any point. Anthony, have you had much experience at all with the Advance Wars series?
Yeah, a little bit, and I'm generally a fan of just like the turn-based style, and also the one thing I am excited for is obviously the voice, some of the voice commanders, and just the animations, everything looks and sounds so crisp, but also just the versus mode and being able to play against some friends. So that's always good for me because me and my friends are always very competitive and will literally find anything to be competitive in. But this is one that we're definitely excited for. Got a few friends who are excited too. So yeah, I'm definitely this is a good one for me too.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to some multiplayer. It has local and online multiplayer, and I actually, for that game, it's a similar kind of turn-based strategy game called Wargroove that came out for Nintendo Switch a few years ago, and I ended up playing that one online quite a bit, and I think those games are really well suited for online play, so I'm excited for that. I think we also saw in the Nintendo Direct a couple of other modes. There was War Room, where you try to get high scores, and then Design Room, where you actually get to make your own kind of battlefield maps, which seems really cool. And one last thing I just want to say about this game is, I may have said it before on the show, but I just love the look of this new version. It's almost like it feels like a board game kind of come to life, right? Like right off the table with the little miniatures of the vehicles on the board. So I love what they've done with it, and just can't wait. Almost there. And then later in April, on April 29th, we have a huge new game, in my opinion, that was a big surprise, Nintendo Switch Sports. I was a big, big fan of the original Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. Played those games a lot, like I think a lot of people, judging by how much you heard about Wii and Wii Sports back in the day. Jason, were you a big Wii Sports player, and what do you think of this new one?
Yeah, absolutely. I was in like I think I was the last person in line to pick up my Wii at midnight back in 2006, and that other than spending hours making my me and me's of all of my friends and family, of course, I played a ton of Wii Sports that first week, and it was definitely a mainstay throughout. I was in college at the time, so it was like perfect like dorm room experience with inviting people in and doing game of bowling or tennis or whatever. But this it's great to see that it's back. I'm super excited. I'm glad that bowling's there. And I actually never played Wii Sports Resort, so that will be kind of a fresh addition when it comes to the swordplay game. So overall, like probably one of the biggest surprises for me out of the whole direct. I think the little demonstration that we had of the volleyball. That's no joke. Volleyball, it's pretty tough to get those movements down and actually get your teamwork on point. But the experience felt right at home of playing. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Anthony?
Yeah, this is. I mean, this is gonna be really great. I think the Wii Sports series and now with Nintendo Switch Sports, it's just a game where literally anyone can be, great or can really challenge you. Yeah, that's just what I'm looking forward to now. Especially you can, you have there's the online play, and so sort of being able to recreate that experience. Maybe I can get my parents involved or my family who lives a little bit further away from me. So yeah, this I'm looking forward to playing this one with family again for sure.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I was really taken aback because, of course, when you think of the original Wii Sports games, uh, they were, for the time, they looked great, very cartoony, but compared to Nintendo Switch Sports, the graphics have really seen quite a boost, and it still has that cartoony style, obviously, but the arenas and the environments that you're playing in just look so much cooler, and even the characters. We saw some characters in the Nintendo Direct that kind of had me heads, but we also saw some that had kind of a new style that I thought looked really cool. And one thing that I loved about Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, and it looks to me just from what I've seen of Nintendo Switch Sports that I think will be very similar is, of course, these are the kinds of games that appeal to like everyone, right? Like you don't have to be a hardcore gamer to enjoy playing these games, but at the same time, there's no reason hardcore gamers can't enjoy these games. So I've always enjoyed playing them with my family and my friends, even some who don't play as many games, nearly as many games as me. But I also really enjoy playing them even by myself because I feel like there's a lot to really dial into and kind of master and lots of little things you can do in the game. So so super excited for that. And now you can play all of these online, which is great. Locally, of course, as well. And just to recap it, we talked about a few of these, but we got three sports returning from the Wii Sports games: tennis and bowling from the original Wii Sports, and then Chambara, which is the sword fighting from Wii Sports Resort, and then three sports that haven't been in these games before: soccer, which is funny to see it using that gigantic ball. And then and they even said that the physical version of the game is going to come with that leg strap accessory that we first saw with Ring Fit Adventure, and that you can actually swing your leg in real life to kind of kick the ball in the shootout mode. And then there's going to be another free update later in the summer that will let you actually play regular soccer using that leg strap. And then badminton and volleyball, we talked about volleyball, have also been added. So, oh, and then you're going to get an update this fall for free, which adds golf. So just so much there to dig into and play online, and can't wait. It's going to be really cool. And and I should also mention that coming up here pretty soon, February the 18th through the 20th, is the online play test that's taking place, which is available to Nintendo Switch Online members. So people who want to look into that may get a chance to um, try out bowling, chambara, and tennis quite a bit early. So I'm definitely going to be participating in that myself. And anyone can go to the official website to learn more information about that. And then sometime in April, we don't have a date for this one yet. We're going to get the second free update for Metroid Dread. Of course, the first free update just launched with Dread mode, so you can't get hit even once or it's game over. Which I'm excited to try to tackle it, but I don't know how I could ever beat the final boss without taking even a single hit. But I guess on the plus side, I don't have to worry about spending any time looking for energy tanks in this new mode. And then, of course, it added rookie mode, which you recover more energy. When you get energy pickups, so that helps people who are new to the series. And then in April, the second update is going to add boss rush mode, so you can just battle the bosses one after the other. So I had already played through this game like 4 times when I first got it, and I'm excited to have a reason to jump back in. Although we'll have to see we'll have to see if I can actually make it through Dread mode or not. Anthony, do you think you have any shot at Dread mode?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna give it a shot. I think last time I was on the podcast we were talking about Metroid Dread, and yeah, like since then I have played so many hours of that game, and played through it more than once, and this is definitely gonna be a test of how much I've actually played. But because the one thing too is like the movement in the game is so smooth, right? It feels so good to just like kind of breeze through enemies and levels, and I always kind of felt like I was pretty good at that, and now this is actually gonna test my thoughts on that, because I don't think I've ever thought about dying in one hit as I'm playing the game. So I'll give it a shot, but like you, I don't know. I'm not gonna promise anything.
Yep. Well, what's interesting is some of the more challenging parts in Metroid Dread is when you encounter the Emmys, and those were always kind of one-hit game overs anyway. So at least that part
Yeah.
of the game doesn't really get any more difficult. Jason, what do you think? You gonna take on this ultimate challenge?
No, I'll have to say that rookie mode is more my speed. But I absolutely adore challenges like this put before folks who really love these titles. I'm super excited to see what the speedrunning community or just general fans who are diehard Metroid fans do with this, because I think there's a lot of potential for glory, we'll say. But the boss rush mode is something that I think I would definitely get behind. I've always really loved the boss design in Metroid games, and Dread is no exception in that. And just being able to kind of hurry through and see the different mechanics and whatnot is very appealing to me. So more Dread, all good to me.
Absolutely. Well put. All right, so moving on to June 10th, we've got what for me was another huge surprise in the Nintendo Direct, which is Mario Strikers Battle League. I was so happy to see this series return. Anthony, how about you?
Oh yeah, I was so excited to see this. And just from the first look at the game, I mean, I was like just so excited. And yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of just like the Mario and Mushroom Kingdom sort of like sports series. I played a ton of Mario Tennis, and soccer, and Mario Strikers is definitely one that I remember playing a lot with friends on the GameCube, and it was one of those games where we just got like oddly and intensely competitive. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this, and some of my favorite characters that you don't always see a ton, like Waluigi and I mean I know Wario just had a game come out recently, but those are two of my favorites, and yeah, I'm excited to jump in with those guys.
Same here, and I was just gonna say the last Mario Strikers game was Mario Strikers Charged for
Yeah.
Wii in 2007. So it's been about 15 years. So I didn't realize so much time had passed. I can't wait to jump back in, Jason.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think any and all Wario and Waluigi, I'm here for it. The style they brought to Mario Golf Super Rush last year was exceptional. So I am very much looking forward to the new folds of this game. The customization looks great. The kind of irreverence to rules and soccer
Yes.
or football in
Yes.
general is very much appreciated, and I think the 8-player games are going to get just absolutely wild. So very, very excited for that one.
Yeah, not just 8 players, with 4 on each team, but I also like that there's online play modes, not just individual matches, but I'm really intrigued by this whole idea of joining a club. You join a club and you compete for placement in the rankings, and up to 20 people can join a club. So that sounds pretty exciting. And then you combine that, like you said, with the customization options where you change your gear to change stats like strength, speed, shooting, passing, technique. There's a lot there. On the surface, it just looks like, wild kind of arcadey fun, which I love. I love those kinds of sports games. As much as I love sports, I've never been as into the really realistic simulations. I've always personally preferred the more video gamey sports video games. And so, I love that kind of action, but then I also like being able to drill down and have a little strategy too with how I'm setting up my gear. So super excited, and I know this is a franchise that some fans have been waiting to see again. So I'm really excited for them too to be able to experience it. All right, so June 24th, we've got another surprise: Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. Now I remember that when Fire Emblem Three Houses came out for Nintendo Switch, I don't know, a couple of years ago now. That really blew through the office, and there were a lot of people playing it at the same time, a lot of people talking about it. And a lot of people, I remember, really fell in love with those characters. So it was so cool to see those characters again in the Nintendo Direct. Anthony, what do you think? I think you were playing Fire Emblem with us back when it was kind of sweeping through the office, right?
Yeah, I definitely was playing with a lot of people, and I think we even had like a wall, like a board somewhere in the office where we were kind of like tracking like which house people had joined, and I can't remember which was the
That's right.
the favorite, but I remember it was really popular, and so yeah, that was for me. That was definitely, I wouldn't say it was like sort of my entry into the Fire Emblem series, but it was definitely probably the one that I played the most and got the most invested in. And so, yeah, with Fire Emblem Warriors, I mean, I again just love that we get to experience a different story with those characters in that same world, and definitely the Warriors style of gameplay is one I'm a big fan of. Definitely, I'm very much like an action adventure um, player usually, and so this kind of goes right up my alley a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited for this, and again, it's definitely just fresh for me because I was very into Three Houses, Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Jason, were you a big Fire Emblem Three Houses player?
Uh, Contrary to my love for the Advance Wars series and even some of the early Fire Emblem games, I actually haven't played Three Houses. But I will say I am a pretty big fan of the recent Muso games that we've been working with Koei Tecmo on. I'm a huge Zelda fan, and the both Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition have gotten quite a bit of playtime on my Nintendo Switch. So, it's one of those things that if the itch needs scratching, then I will definitely check it out. I think it looks really great, but I also feel like if I were to play a Fire Emblem game now, I should probably go back and play Three Houses. So, who knows? Maybe double feature: Three
Yeah.
Houses into Three Hopes.
Nice. You're setting yourself up for a lot of fun hours right there. I think that's interesting your point of view there because I look at this and I say, I'm so glad that whether you're talking about Fire Emblem Warriors or Hyrule Warriors, that these kinds of games give us another opportunity to kind of revisit these worlds and these universes that you really grow attached to in the original games. But it's interesting, from your perspective, it's the kind of because the gameplay is so action oriented, it can also appeal to different types of players who might not be as familiar with the original kind of RPGs or adventure games in the case of Legend of Zelda. So yeah, I guess it kind of is whether you're a series fan already or someone who's just checking it out. These games have a lot to offer. All right, so moving on to June 30th, one that I'm personally really, really looking forward to and been looking forward to now for well over a year since it was first announced, is Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course from Studio MDHR. Now, this, of course, is the DLC that will provide the final new content to the original Cuphead game, which has been out for several years now. And I've really enjoyed it on Nintendo Switch, despite how punishingly difficult it is. It has that old school 2D kind of side-scrolling run and gun gameplay, but with an old-fashioned animation style that I don't remember seeing since cartoons that I watched when I was a kid, and they were old even then. But it's just so smoothly animated and just so charming and funny. And I can't wait to play this new version. Jason, are you familiar at all with Cuphead? Have you had a chance to get obliterated by that game again and again?
I have indeed, and I will say it's very much worth it just to be able to behold those visuals. I know that a show has also been announced, and that I'm very much looking forward to. But I just love that old timey style of animation. I think the addition of Miss Chalice will be really cool, and getting kind of another mode of play. But yeah, some of the bosses featured in the trailer there, while incredible, I just kind of also very daunting looking. Some of their attacks flying at you, it definitely puts you on guard, even just watching. So I guess I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, it does have that old school appeal, right? Of like it's super hard, but when you finally do, the better you get, the longer you can last, and eventually you kind of master it, and you're looking like a pro here. You're not taking any damage like you used to. You're learning the patterns, and then when you finally beat a boss, it's so satisfying. Anthony, how about you? Are you familiar with Cuphead?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't. So sometimes I wonder why we love to torture ourselves, but it's again, it's the visuals of the game, sort of like you said, the mastery of those patterns and that feeling of just triumph. Once you finally get through that really difficult, boss or whichever one you're going through is so good. But yeah, I think for me, it's just being able to just like even as you're sort of like struggling insanely, like being able to just watch this game and just how beautiful the animations are and just the visuals is enough for me, and I that's kind of why I really loved Cuphead, and we'll definitely get back into the DLC. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for this.
Yeah, it's so creative and so unique, and it's such a great fun two-player game as well. I played this a lot with my son, and I'm just going to brag here for a minute. He actually, he and I tackled the final boss, the devil, several times, many times actually, and couldn't do it. And I kind of gave up temporarily, and eventually he went on and beat it all by himself. So uh, just knowing that he beat the game without me means that not only am I proud of my son, but I really got to step up my own game here and tackle some of this stuff and prove that I'm qualified to game alongside him. So looking forward to that. And I guess if I do continue to have trouble, this new playable character in the DLC, Miss Chalice, looks like she could be a great one for people who maybe need a little bit of a helping hand because she has double jumps and she can also do rolling dodges. So seems like she's got a few more options to kind of get out of harm's way. So looking forward to trying all that out again on June 30th. And then on
Definitely.
July 8th, yeah, on July 8th, we've got another platformer series returning, Klonoa, with Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series from Bandai Namco. This is a game and a series I honestly haven't thought about in quite a while because I don't think, unless I missed it, I don't think there's been any new games for a while. But I absolutely loved Klonoa 2, which is included in this package, and it's a great kind of side-scrolling 2D but with kind of 3D graphics series that I think should interest a lot of Nintendo fans who are probably into those kinds of games. Jason, have you had any experience with any past Klonoa games?
I have not. This is, you know, been tangentially aware of the series, but uh, I do really appreciate the style of the game, and I think I I remember playing Klonoa on a friend's Wii years ago, and at the time I think it was right around when Super Mario Galaxy had come out, and I think Zack and Wiki was another
Hmm.
game that came out around then, and so it was just like this wealth of really great adventure platforming. But other than that, just like one instance where I was visiting them and played for less than an hour. This is a gap in my experience, so it'll be cool to see how it does on Nintendo Switch and what the fans bring to its revival. I guess not really revival, but this update.
Hmm. Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, I'm relatively unfamiliar. I mean, I know of the series, and I remember sort of seeing different games growing up. I mean, I know like it's just one of those series that I've always seen, and there's been a couple different games, and I never really got the chance to check it out. So yeah, from what we saw in the Nintendo Direct, definitely intrigued me. I'm a fan of platformers and that kind of style. So I'm gonna check it out. But yeah, this is new for me. Definitely fresh.
Yeah, I think it will be for most players, actually. I think Klonoa, my impression, it's always been one of those series that has a more of a core but very dedicated following. So I'm hoping that here on Nintendo Switch, it'll find a much bigger audience because these games are really very, very fun. All right, on July 22nd, we have a game that I'd only ever heard the title of before, which is Live Alive from Square Enix. I know this was a classic RPG from Square that was originally released just in Japan for the Super Famicom, kind of around the mid 90s. But other than that, I knew nothing about it. But after watching kind of the trailer in the Nintendo Direct, I am super excited to try this game. Jason, is this something you'd ever even heard of before?
Just in hollowed corridors, right? Like
Right.
uh, the name had definitely crossed my path, but it was something that I think had not really piqued my interest very much. That said, the approach to having multiple characters and different time frames and stories and whatnot, yeah, I'm count me as super interested because I think obviously there's always such a love for um, the that era of graphics, and I think this game looks like it will present some pretty interesting, unique locations and characters. I'm particularly interested in the robot who seems to be caught up in some sort of space opera. So yeah, I think I'm interested.
Yeah, for sure. And Anthony, we were talking earlier about games like Octopath Traveler that have that
Hmm.
HD kind of 2D mix of pixel graphics and 3D graphics that we're also seeing with Triangle Strategy. I don't know about you, but to me, this looked like it had some of the best of those kinds of graphics. Some of the scenes they showed just looked really nice. What did you think?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely it has that similar visual feel to it, and obviously before some of those titles that we spoke about earlier. But yeah, I'm also like I really love the idea of just like telling like multiple stories in one game, and I usually watch a lot of shows like that with like different time periods and stories kind of linking together in some crazy convoluted way. But and I'm not too familiar with the story of this game, but I just sort of understanding that it has that similar concept. Yeah, I'm in for sure. I mean, definitely can envision myself getting captivated in the story. And yeah, that art style, of course, is one that I'm a big fan of. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, and like you said, the stories are all kind of similar in a way, I guess, to Octopath Traveler, which kind of you would play different parts of that game as different characters in their own
Right.
parts of the world, dealing with their own stories. And in this one, you can kind of choose, I think, in any order, kind of whether you want to play kind of the storyline in prehistory or the Wild West. There was Imperial China, and one was called the Twilight of Edo, Japan. Then, of course, there's present day, the near future, and the distant future. So you go all the way from prehistory to the distant future. That sounds like a lot of very different types of stories and characters. So a lot of variety and interesting things going on in that game. Can't wait. And then just for summer 2022, there were several games discussed in the Nintendo Direct that we don't have exact dates for, but we know sometimes this summer we're going to get Splatoon 3, of course, which we've talked about before, and in the Nintendo Direct we saw the new mode Splatoon 3 Salmon Run Next Wave. There was also No Man's Sky from Hello Games. Great to see that coming to Nintendo Switch. Front Mission First remake from Forever Entertainment, another kind of classic tactical JRPG coming to Nintendo Switch in a new form. And then I was really surprised by Disney Speedstorm, which we've seen lots of other kinds of branded kart racers before on various systems, but this one looked really cool to me, and I was not expecting the slightly more kind of mature-looking color palette and kind of aggressive action. So those were a few there. Splatoon 3, No Man's Sky, Front Mission First Remake, and Disney Speedstorm all coming out in the summer. Jason, what there kind of popped out to you the most?
Splatoon 3 and No Man's Sky, I think, are probably the big two for me for this summer. I have not had a ton of experience with Splatoon, but what I've played, I've really liked. I think the third game, especially Salmon Run, is very appealing to me from a solo player angle as well as getting a group of friends together for some kind of like wave based action. No pun intended, maybe a little intended. Um, but yeah, the new weaponry that's been shown off for Splatoon 3 and the just kind of like the isolation, that level. I really loved the tone and the discordance of the trailer. And the music was very unsettling. So I think that really sets the tone for these enemies. And yeah, I think it's time for me, like you had said earlier, Chris, to get my A game on with Splatoon. I'm a big shooter fan in general, and I think this is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, gap in some of my like more prevalent Nintendo first party catalog. So that and then No Man's Sky. I've been playing No Man's Sky for I can't believe 6 years now,
Wow.
across different iterations. So I have most recently been playing on my PC, and there's just a lot to love about the loop of that game. I think anyone who's familiar with a Minecraft or a Terraria or any other sort of survival based game will find something to love here. Plus, it's in space and there are aliens, and you get to find and fix up ships and explore these crazy mysteries. I think that game has come a long way, and it's really a blast to play. And I would definitely recommend playing with a friend as well. I recently played with a good friend of mine, and we just went through and kind of did the main story of the game, and we're able to set up our own bases and share resources and stuff. So as always, it's dangerous to go alone.
Yeah, and I've only had a chance to play No Man's Sky on other platforms just a little bit, but I'm really intrigued by the whole idea that it's this infinite kind of procedurally generated universe. So you could just keep exploring and exploring and exploring, and you won't find any two planets that are exactly the same. Like you're saying, you have to craft tools and create places to live. And then, as we saw in the Nintendo Direct, you're kind of on trade missions, but also you have the option to fight, and then of course there's a lot of exploring. So just a lot there to do, and kind of and I remember the first one of the first things I did in that game was actually take off from the ground on a planet up through the sky, up through the atmosphere, and seamlessly into space. And that felt really kind of magical.
Totally.
So looking forward to a lot more of that. And then in Splatoon 3, I was really happy to see some of the new things that they added to Splatoon 3 Salmon Run Next Wave, which was being able to toss eggs, that you collect to a teammate
Yeah.
to kind of pass it off and let them try to get it, to where it needs to go. And then some of those boss salmonids looked really, really kind of ridiculous in the best possible way, including that giant one, at the end of the trailer that we've never seen before. So those two games for sure. And then, like I said, Disney Speedstorm and Front Mission First Remake were looking really interesting to me. Anthony,
Yeah.
what about you with these games? What really popped off to you?
Yeah, I work really closely here with so many competitive style games, and so Splatoon has a really close place to my heart, and yeah, I'm very excited for Splatoon 3, and yeah, the Salmon Run trailer like just brought back so many memories of even us playing in the office from time to time, just finding some times to get some games in, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun to sort of experience that again, hopefully. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And then No Man's Sky, it's so interesting because like Jason, you said 6 years, and I look back, and I'm like, wow, it's been 6 years. um, and that was a game that I played a little on other platforms, and it's just as I kind of like hadn't played as much recently, I've just been hearing about all the additions to the game, and all the growth in the game, and sort of seeing it again in the Nintendo Direct. It was kind of cool to be like to see all the things that are in the game now that maybe weren't the same when I first started playing. So I'm excited to get back in, and like you said, maybe find a friend or two to play with, for sure, because I'm a big fan of kind of like the base building and survival style gameplay. And I just remember that seamless action of like getting in the ship, taking off, flying into space, and that just sort of being like one seamless scene was like always jaw dropping, and I don't think it ever gets old. So I will definitely jump back into that game for sure. And Disney Speedstorm too. That was one that surprised me because obviously I feel like everyone's got an affinity for at least some of the characters you might have seen in that trailer, and being able to like either use like Mickey or like Sully or like
Hmm.
so many
All
different
those
characters.
Disney and Pixar characters, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, and the style is really cool. It's like it's got that kind of like cartoony style mixed with some realism. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun one, and one that kind of surprised me. I'm definitely gonna check out.
Yeah, and then I forgot to mention that, and another surprising thing about Disney Speedstorm is it's from the creators of the Asphalt games, which is pretty surprising. That's some legit racing cred there.
Yeah.
And then also that's going to be free to play with seasons being added regularly. So anybody can try it, risk free. It sounds like, and there'll be more characters, circuits, and carts added over time. So, and it's also going to be cross-platform play as well. So lots of good stuff there. And then just one thing that jumped out to me from Front Mission First remake. Again, this is an RPG. I guess it was originally a Square Enix game from the mid '90s, released in Japan. I think I said that before, but it was a turn-based tactical RPG where you pilot these mechs called Vanzers, and you kind of customize them by mixing and matching various parts. And not only the kind of the 3D graphical upgrade looked pretty cool to me. Oh, and I guess they mentioned that a remake of the sequel, Front Mission 2, is coming in the future as well. But the thing that caught my attention in the Nintendo Direct is how you can aim at specific enemy parts of the enemy's mech in battle. And I love that it kind of reminded me of Eternal Darkness. Actually, is kind of a deep cut back on Nintendo GameCube, where you could target kind of different limbs or whatever of the monsters you were fighting.
Yeah.
So that I remember that having a lot of kind of fun strategic implications. So I'm looking forward to trying that here with Front Mission First Remake as well. And then finally, The last game here on our list, because it's the furthest out from what we've seen in the Nintendo Direct, it's in September, and it was also the final reveal in the Nintendo Direct, which is a big one, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Um, a pretty amazing trailer, in my opinion. Definitely got me interested to learn more about the story and the world and the setting. It talks about tying together the futures of the worlds depicted in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. So I can't wait to see what that means and kind of these games are so massive, just being able to dive into them and spend potentially dozens and dozens of hours kind of immersing yourself in that world and learning the many different systems. Always look forward to those games. Jason, how about you? Are you a Xenoblade Chronicles guy, or you think maybe you're going to try this one for the first time?
Yeah, this will definitely be my first entrance. Although, with this on the way, there are quite a few months between now and then where definitive. I could play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, check out Xenoblade Chronicles 2, even that DLC. So we'll see what the summer months hold. But it's great to see this. Who knows what lies beyond for Xenoblade Chronicles, but really does feel like a summation of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like you noted, Chris, it's kind of bridging the stories and the futures of these worlds. So it'll be really interesting to see how this world evolves. I think that's one of the things that I do know about Xenoblade Chronicles is that obviously it's a JRPG and it's all character based and there's a lot of customization that goes into that. But the world has always felt like a big player because it's they're part of these giant creatures, and we saw in the trailer this world with a huge sword rendered into it, and it's just a fascinating design. I think this was quite a big pull, and the dramatic tension in the trailer too was really good. I think there's going to be quite a bit of stuff to look forward to that game. So now that we've seen it, I'm already ready for more.
Absolutely, and ready for a lot more because even though the trailer was a pretty lengthy trailer, we still don't know a ton about the details of this game or what's going to be new. But just based on what we saw in the Nintendo Direct, Anthony, what did you think?
Yeah, so I one, I'm really excited, and I think Nintendo Switch is just it's like for people maybe who aren't as familiar with the Xenoblade series. And I was definitely kind of one of them before I played on Nintendo Switch. There's so many games and so much content that you can dive into before this game comes out. Understandably, it will take some time because they they can be lengthy games if you're one to sort of accomplish everything. But I mean, even in Super Smash Bros, you can play as Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So um, yeah, I definitely am excited. I spent like maybe anywhere from like 60 to 80 hours in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So super immersive story. The world is definitely such a big player there, and it's kind of seeing it in the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 trailer. It definitely it's like it continues to look better, and it's just like kind of witnessing it again. You realize the scale of everything, because that's also a big thing in the game. It's just like there are these like just ginormous environments, and there's just so much to explore. So yeah, I'm excited again to learn more. I know it's like a pretty good length trailer, but there's probably still a lot more for us to see and learn.
For sure, really looking forward to hearing a lot more about this game. As I said, that was the last game we're really going to dive in on. There are obviously loads more games coming out this year, including some others that have already been announced, but that's about as much as we can fit in today. And I'm really looking forward to discussing many of these games in much more detail in future episodes. Plus some other games, obviously, that we couldn't get to today. But really quick, before we go, I asked you both beforehand to take the games we covered today and come up with the top 3 games that you're personally looking forward to the most. So, Jason, do you want to go first? You can just start with your number 3 game and count down to number 1.
Yeah. Um, Oh, it's so tough. I've been staring
It
at
is hard.
two that I'm like, is it this? Is it this? Um, so I think just purely because it's made it into the realm of what I'm most excited for, I will have to say Splatoon 3 is my third. That
Hmm.
again, don't have a ton of experience with the title outside of the small interactions I've had in Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, but I think this is going to be my jumping on point, and I'm really excited to get into some shooting on a Nintendo Switch. Um, my number two, I feel like it has to be Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Hmm.
Um, I think that that title looks wonderful, joyful, bright, super creative and imaginative. Something that I think maybe often goes underappreciated. Um, and then my number one, I think I think I have to go with. Uh, I think I have to go with Advance Wars. I think I have to go with Advance Wars. That the list was incredibly hard. um,
It definitely was.
yeah, but yeah, Advance Wars. It's just probably uh, the nearest and dearest to my heart, and playing those games in kind of a refreshed manner, and bringing in friends who maybe hadn't picked it up first when they first came out in the early 2000s. And playing some online. I really look forward to that experience, and I think it's going to occupy a lot of time for me this summer.
Well, I can't fault you for that list. I think you could have many different top threes that I think would all be just as valid. So, Anthony, what do you think? I'm curious to see how much crossover you might have with Jason's list.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say one title, but I'll start from three. Um, so probably my third one, I think it's gonna be Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Um, just because that was a game that was fresh for me with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And it's just a game where kind of like every battle, every encounter, you have to think a little bit more um, than kind of what you would originally think. Like sort of that whole battle system is just really interesting, and sort of how you make things flow pretty seamlessly, and just the scope of the game is amazing. So if you're into that little bit of extra strategy with battle, and just sort of like those kind of big epic visuals, that's the game. So I'm definitely excited for that one. Number two, uh, I'm gonna say Mario Strikers Battle League. um, I did mention this earlier when we talked about it, but I'm particularly excited for the online club mode. And it just I feel like it's definitely just going to add another layer of competition to the game, that keeps you playing, keeps you going back to it. So definitely excited for that, and obviously any chance I can play as Waluigi, I'm gonna take that. So got that, and then number one for me, I think it's gonna be Kirby. I feel like Kirby in the Forgotten Land. I feel like I need to give like special mention to Splatoon 3 because that's one that like I'm always gonna be going back to like for a very long time. I know that. So, um, but in any case, Kirby's coming up, and again, everything we've seen in the game has just kind of like blown me away, and how great some of the environments look, and like the evolved copy abilities, and just any chance I get to do like crazy new stuff with Kirby, I'm in there. So yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I think I'm most excited for that right now. But again, this is really hard.
It was really hard. And for me, I think pretty much everything outside of my top three you can just consider to be on the special mention list. And a top five probably would have been at least a little more fair, but I don't know. I guess I kind of like torturing all of us. But for me, my number three is actually not a game necessarily, but DLC. It's the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass.
Yes.
Again, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, one of my all time favorite games. And you're talking about doubling the number of courses. I cannot wait to get in there and play all those, both, just in single player and especially online with people. And then my number two is Nintendo Switch Sports. I really am looking forward to playing um, not just this game and these events, not just with my family, but also with just by myself. I mean, I get a lot of joy out of kind of mastering these motion controls and figuring out their nuances. And it looks like there's a lot here to really dive into and enjoy. And then number one, Anthony, I agree with you. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It's just platformers are my favorite genre, and especially 3D platformers. And this is Kirby's first real 3D platformer. So I'm just loving what I'm seeing. And with every new trailer, it seems like we're getting more and more cool features. And I just know that when I get that game, I'm going to just dive into it and not stop until I've saved every little Waddle Dee, built out my town completely, and experienced all of the different, mouthful kind of modes. So couldn't be more excited for that one. But so many games to look forward to, and who knows? If you were to ask me, in the middle of the year or maybe even next week, my list might change a little bit, and
Yeah,
probably
definitely.
even add some more games to it as we go throughout the year as well. So that's it, and I super enjoyed. I mean, as I was watching the Nintendo Direct, I was just so looking forward to talking about it with you guys. So, Jason and Anthony, thanks so much for coming back on the show today.
Yeah,
Anytime.
of course, anytime for sure. Always fun.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll see you next time.
All right, see ya.
Thanks. Bye.
That's it for this episode of Nintendo Power Podcast. If you have any comments or questions you'd like us to consider answering on the show, you can email us at nintendopowerpodcast@noa.nintendo.com. Also, we always appreciate it if you can leave a review, and be sure to subscribe so you get new episodes as soon as they're ready. Thanks for listening, and keep playing with power.